Yoga Nidra. These are two interesting words. Yoga, Nidra. Yoga, of course, means yoga. The gradual implementation of practices that make the mind one-pointed and finally transcend the mind. That's yoga. Nidra means sleep. And in particular, it means deep sleep, dreamless sleep. So there are a variety of practices called Yoga Nidra. And ultimately, Yoga Nidra leads to a deep state of conscious sleep. These days there are some practices that are called Yoga Nidra, and they're called that because they are implying that through deep relaxation one approaches sleep. They also, I think, perhaps are using Yoga Nidra as a useful term for all kinds of relaxation methods. So in that sense, there's nothing wrong with using the term in that way. But it might be helpful for yoga students who are interested in really exploring yoga deeply to hold on to the idea that Yoga Nidra is something particular, and that the practitioners of Yoga Nidra are accomplished in doing something which just simple relaxation practices don't accomplish. And so I'd like to talk today a little bit about the idea of Yoga Nidra in its purest sense. What is Yoga Nidra and what is it meant to accomplish? It might be helpful to know something about the basic idea of sleep. In the process of falling asleep at night, any one of us begins by passing through a period of sort of vague, spooky, unfamiliar, dreamlike images. The giant sandworms crawling around in the desert, or the monster walking over the mountaintop. This process of falling asleep at night is always an unfamiliar territory for us because it is that kind of dreamlike imagery. But it soon travels beyond that into a deep sleep, that is, dreamless sleep. In yoga, the passage from waking to dreaming to sleep is charted out as a passageway down the chakras of the spine. The eyebrow center is considered the first chakra, waking chakra. Governing dreams is the Vishuddha chakra, throat center. And the heart center, the Anahata chakra, is the center for deep sleep. Agya, Vishuddha, Anahata. As one passes from waking to dream to sleep, the mind itself is drawn inward. And it's precisely that journey from waking to deep sleep that is the content of Yoga Nidra. There are numbers of practices that support Yoga Nidra and actually create a kind of underlying structure on which it rests. So, for example, it is important to do something with your body before you fall asleep. Most of us, if we have just had a cup of coffee or smoked a cigarette or something like that, know that it makes it more difficult to fall asleep. So there must be some practices which make it more possible to fall asleep. And in particular, Yoga Nidra, conscious sleep, there must be some physical practices which support falling into sleep, but consciously. Those unique practices which support this Yoga Nidra practice are called exercise without movement, or subtle exercises. And they take about 45 minutes to accomplish. They are a remarkable set of exercises. They lead you into a deep and subtle awareness of your own musculature and joint systems. So you can, through focusing on your body, you can prepare the way for Yoga Nidra in an extraordinarily interesting and fascinating series of exercises. After you've finished that sequence of exercises, next comes two deep forms of relaxation. One is called Shavayatra, 61-point exercise, and the other is called 75 breaths. These two exercises are done sequentially. So first exercise without movement, then Shavayatra, 61 points, then 75 breaths. Following 75 breaths, still there are additional practices that are done in order to rest and focus the mind. And finally, at the very end of all of these practices, you're led from eyebrow center to throat center to heart center. It's an amazing journey. A full practice might take something in the order of an hour and a half to accomplish. And at the end of that hour and a half, your body and mind will be extraordinarily and deeply relaxed. So the Yoga Nidra theory is, how can I move from waking to dreaming to deep sleep consciously? And the Yoga Nidra practice is step by step, one step at a time, working with your body, working with your breath, working with your nervous system, working with your senses, then working with your state of consciousness as you're led toward deeper and deeper sleep. I learned these exercises quite a long time ago, working with Swami Rama in the mountains of Nepal. And he gave a fascinating explanation of it. First he did it, and then he said, don't change this, he said. Do it just like this. Learn how to be in control of your own body. So at some point he said, this is the way of gaining self-mastery of the autonomic nervous system. He said, in a very interesting way, he said, you should have control of your own body. And I said, really? He said, yes. And so it was that I began my practice. And this practice is something that will lead you very deeply into your own inner life. So Yoga Nidra, it's a practice. It's not simply a practice of relaxation, although it involves relaxation, but it's something more than that, and something with practice that leads to a deep understanding of who you are as a physical, emotional, and mental being.